Perek Chav Daled Mishnah Yud Beis. Up to now the Mishnahs have been fairly easy. Now we come to a Mishnah which looks quite innocuous. It's actually fundamental to understand the tumah of oiris of leather. In one way, leather follows eitz. In other words, it's got to be a kli and it's got to be a kli kibble. However, the Torah is mechadish, a tumah for oiris which eitz doesn't have. We'll explain this. Says the Mishnah, Shloisha oiris hein. We're now talking about bits of skin, hides, that have not been manufactured as kelim. They're just pieces of hide. Now, a piece of hide is not a kli. Yet the Torah says that if the piece of hide has a shear of 5 tfachim by 5 tfachim, then it's mekabel tumah, because such a piece of hide is called ro'oi lemedris. You can sit on it. That's the chiddush of oir which eitz doesn't have. If a piece of oir has a shear of 5 tfachim by 5 tfachim, then although it's not a kli as such, it's still mekabel tumas medris. Of course, once it's mekabel tumas medris, it's also mekabel tumas mes under the rule a kol a tome tumas medris, tome tumas mes. Says the Mishnah, Shloisha oiris hein osu d'shtiach, made to be a spread. Spread meat is made to be a blanket or a sheet, something to sit on. Tome medris. There's two ways you can learn this Mishnah. By the way, I'm going to have to say a little bit of an introduction here. Whenever I talk about oir and the shear of 5 by 5 and medris, and this will carry on through quite a few Mishnayos in the next few prokim, I'm always going to be dealing with the shitta of the Bar Tanura, which follows that of the Rambam and the Rosh. There are other ways of learning Tumas Oiris. In this view, with this shitta, there's two ways you can learn Osu d'shtiach Tome Medris. One is, you actually take a piece of leather and you actually cut it so that you can sit on it. In such a case, there's no shear of 5 by 5. If you actually slice a piece of leather, especially to sit on, then even a tefach al tefach, the Mishnah says, "Hamakatzeh mikulam tefach al tefach tome." So you could learn the Mishnah, which is the way the Mishnah Achrona learns, that you've actually taken a piece of leather, cut it so that you can sit on it. Of course, in such a case, it's tome medris. The simple way of learning this Mishnah is not like the Mishnah Achrona, is to say we're actually dealing with a piece of leather which has not been cut, but it's just there. And the Torah is mechadish, although you haven't cut the piece of leather, you haven't specifically designated it for sitting on, nevertheless, because it has a shear of 5 by 5, it is ro'oi lemedris, and with oir, as soon as it is ro'oi lemedris, even though it may not be osui lemedris, it's already tomei medris. That's the ratio of the Mishnah. The second case of the Mishnah, l'tachrich hakelim tomei meis. If you've taken this piece of leather and now designated not to be sat on, it's soft leather, and you actually say, I am going to use this as a pouch, as a wrapper, as a bag, to put things in, to carry knives, to put kelim inside. Because now you've designated it as a piece of leather on which you do not want to sit, now it gets the normal din of kli oir following the pattern of kli eitz. It becomes a normal kli kibble, and in such a case, it's tome mace, it's regular tome mace, and of course, no medris. The Mishnah finishes off with another type of piece of leather. A piece of leather which you're keeping in order to make strips, to make ribbons and threads and pieces of tape, ritzuos, to make straps from it, to make bootstraps, shoelaces from it. It's Torah miklum. Of course, if you have a piece of leather which was not, your intention was not to cut it up, and it had 5 by 5 tfachim, it's mekabel tumas medris. If you just change your mind and say, right, I would like to cut this thing up, you can't take away kabbalas tumah just the machshava. We're talking about a piece of skin which lachatchila, from when you manufactured it, from the time you made it, from the time you worked the leather and made it into this hide, right from the beginning your intention was to cut it up, in such a case it's not osir medris, it's not osir kibble, it's nothing, and therefore it's tahira miklum. This was a very, very important Mishnah and will serve as a fundamental introduction to some of the later prokim, especially Perik Chov Vav, Chov Zayin and Chov Ches. And then